Okay, so I was thinking I would do something a little bit different here. I haven't really done any kind of talking videos yet, but I guess I really like those kind of ones, like camping with Steve or something. I really like it when you get to hear kind of what someone is thinking as they're sort of adventuring around. So I did the drive here without talking, and then I thought I'd give a go sort of doing a bit of a talking one on the drive back down, and also just to show my kind of VR recording setup. So yeah, I don't know, I guess I'd be interested if people like that or not. So the other thing is I'm basically sat here, I've got my camera set up recording. It feels like it's about 1,000,000,000,000 degrees and this is always the problem I have, is that I kind of want to sit in the car so that the noise of me moving around isn't recorded on the camera, but then I also don't want the engines on because obviously that kind of ruins the audio for the relaxing track. So yeah, I sort of just sit here boiling alive. I also so I've got an EOS R5 is what I use. I didn't get the C for some reason. It was a bit more expensive, but basically that means that the limit of recording is about 30 minutes, so it's probably just as well for me because otherwise I'd pass out from the heat. So I'm on Forest Road 150 in Utah, and if you watch the first video, obviously that was a bit of a kind of off-roading drive for me to get up here. When I turn the car back on, I'm not going to plug my phone in because then I can see how high we've come. I actually have no idea. The Alpine Loop video I did was something like 9,000 feet up, but then Utah, you're quite high anyway, so I don't actually know what the exact kind of elevation is. It did drop about 25 degrees Fahrenheit on the way up here, or sort of 5 or 6 degrees centigrade. So that's definitely nice, but I have been cooking ever so slightly. Okay, so get out of the car and I'll show you my VR setup. Yeah, so on the drive up here I was trying to find a good spot to stop, and this is what I kind of settled on. So this is the setup that I've got. So I did used to use a little bit worse tripods, but basically I wanted to be able to have this thing and not keep panicking that it was going to collapse, so I went for this because it's kind of got a bit of a sturdier attachment point there. This was kind of recommended by Hugh. Apologies if I'm getting his name, pronouncing his name wrong. But the reason that I love it is because I've sort of been trying to film VR stuff for a few years, and I didn't like the fact that with the 180-degree field of view you get the tripod legs in the shot. So I kind of set it up like this because hopefully that means that the camera is kind of more realistically placed and you don't have kind of tripod feet in it. So this is the view that I've been filming. Oh man, massive bee. Yeah, I kind of still don't like sort of filming well. So yeah, I was just about to say, I sort of still don't like really filming when other people are around. It kind of makes me a bit embarrassed, and so a pickup truck was coming and I turned my camera off, and then there was like 5 minutes of continued traffic, which has kind of been a bit odd. I have seen quite a lot of people today, but yeah, that was just like a solid range of people. Also, I was going to say, I was saying before about this camera kind of cutting out after half an hour, so it's actually still recording, which is slightly annoying because then I've been talking all over it. But I thought with the heat it might have conked out a little bit earlier, but hopefully I can sort of loop some of the audio and that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But yeah, so this is the view I've been filming. I did try and keep an eye out on the way for good spots, but this one kind of seemed to take the cake, I would say. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get this all packed away now and continue filming in the car. Okay, back in the car. Let's get everything set back up for the drive back down. I think I managed to get rid of most of the flies. There might be the odd sound of me swatting flies away as I drive. That is one thing that I find a little bit frustrating coming out into the forest to film, but I guess that's just par for the course. Oh, let's get the cool air on. Yes, please. Let's see where we're at. Okay, there you go. Elevation 9,297 feet. So, relatively high. I think definitely what counts as a mountain in England. I think there is a difference between England and America on that, but I forget what it is. Oh, just having some water before I set off. Let the air start cooling. Yeah, as much as there was a lot of traffic just then, one of the guys driving a load of people in an ATV did sort of stop and apologise about, well, not stop, he just shouted out apologies for all the dust on his way past, which obviously, you know, not necessary. I'm out here kicking up a lot of dust myself, but it's always nice when you know, people are kind of considerate like that, so that was nice. Yeah, I'm not sure I fully should have topped my water up at the rest area I stopped at. Yeah, so I guess a little bit more introduction. So initially I did intend these non-VR videos to be this kind of more behind the scenes, like getting to the location, my setup, you know, that kind of thing. So that's why I thought maybe doing a bit of talking might be alright, because it kind of goes over my thought process a bit, you know, where I've come to, what I'm getting up to, and then you still got the VR kind of video at the end of it, which obviously is the main point of my channel, although I have done quite a few kind of driving and other videos like that as well. Yeah. Okay. Coffee's nearly out, that's devastating. Probably about an hour to get back down, given how long it took me to get up. On the way up, there's definitely quite a lot of quite hairy sort of drops, and I think the problem is you're sort of relying on other people to not be driving like idiots, because obviously I'm taking it quite slow around the corner, but on the way up, if someone else wasn't being careful, sort of you're the one who's going to get punted into a ravine. So I don't know, I guess at least on the way back I can be careful and sort of not run into any trouble. Okay, let's get this movable feast underway. I don't know why I thought I was going to make that. So yeah, I sort of started out with a little bit of an off-roading video last week that I haven't actually been able to put up yet. I went to a place called Lava Tubes, and I've never really sort of driven off-road style before. This is a compact utility vehicle, or CUV, so it's not quite a like massive pickup that a lot of people are driving. It's not like the full sort of hardcore 4x4 crowd, but for this kind of road that hasn't really been that demanding, it's definitely capable. So yeah, I did a tiny bit that was actually probably a little bit rougher than this, and filmed that with a GoPro. I've been trying to film VR driving videos, But at the moment the shake is a little bit too much, and I've tried a lot to stabilize it, where I sort of split the left and right image, and then using various kind of editing and AI different options to try and stabilize it, but so far that's sort of worked about 1 time out of 5, which isn't exactly ideal. So I stopped by Best Buy on the way here and picked up a gimbal, which I'm hoping might mean that I can do a bit more VR driving video, and because basically the one that works is really cool, and either from the passenger seat or the back, and especially this kind of off-roading one, I think it would really kind of give you the sense of being here. But yeah, the ones I've done so far have just been a little bit too shaky, and not even kind of slow shaking, but like juddering that really doesn't work well in the headset. So yeah, so I'm hoping either this gimbal, or I might have to upgrade, because this was the only one they had, is like a mini one, and I need it to be able to sit on top of my tripod so I can kind of strap it to the chair. So yeah, I'm hoping that will work, or I might need to kind of order another one. But yeah, it needed charging, so I wasn't able to use it today. But I'm hoping to be able to do some of these kind of videos. Not that I'm like, as I say, this is kind of only the 2nd time I've ever driven off-road, so not saying that that's necessarily going to be all that exciting, but yeah, I certainly enjoyed kind of the couple of driving ones I did. If I could get them working a little bit better. So you might be able to tell that I have an English accent, and basically I moved to Seattle about 2 years ago. I was able to get a transfer there with work, and so obviously did a few kind of photo galleries and videos, VR photo galleries, VR videos, driving videos and stuff as well from there. And then I've kind of moved back to Utah. This is where my sister lives. And I just love this element of Utah, and especially in summer, you just want to get out there and explore and do crazy stuff. It's really cool. So obviously this kind of driving, nothing like anything I've ever done in Britain. So yeah, very excited to, you know, I kind of moved and then it was winter, which I also sort of love the snow and the winter pictures and stuff I can do. But yeah, definitely happy now it's kind of summer to be able to get out here and film stuff a little bit more like this. I'll have to see how far we descend by the time I've got back down to the rest area. Yeah, so it was about 32 or 33 centigrade when I came up here. I think I'm not necessarily one for sort of early morning starts, so I didn't actually leave the house till about 1:30, which is sort of the getting up here at the heat of the day, which isn't necessarily all that sensible. But yeah, at least it kind of dropped to about 25 by the time I got to the top. I think my car was saying 99 Fahrenheit was what that was down the bottom. Lava tubes a couple of weekends ago, was 36 degrees centigrade, which I think is more like 104 or something. It was absolutely insane, so I didn't kind of stay out of the car all that long there. I went for a little bit of a walk, got some GoPro around there that I still need to edit and put up. I've actually been working on a project that I'm quite excited by, to do with the stereoscopes that I've sort of been obsessed with. I released an app for the Quest 2 and 3, looking at those, and yeah, I'm trying to do like a video lecture series basically, because I sort of love what you can do with that, making it a bit more dynamic, getting some pictures in there, being able to kind of tie it all together. So yeah, I've sort of got a bit distracted trying to do that the last couple of weeks, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be quite cool for those who are interested in that kind of thing. So yeah, that I'm hoping to be able to get that up soon. Putting up another Scottish video that I took when I kind of drove around Scotland a few years ago, and so that's unfortunately another 4K one. I did realise why I did it in 4K. It's because I didn't have the CX Express card at that point, and I sort of ordered it halfway through that trip. So my initial videos were all in 4K, and then I kind of bumped it up to 8K. So yeah, unfortunately it's another 4K one, because I think I got some amazing kind of beach videos there, but yeah, unfortunately in 4K. I think I slightly lost my train of thought before. So yeah, I'm basically an Englishman abroad, very much, but kind of just enjoying Utah. Got a, type of car to be able to kind of come out and adventure a little bit more. But yeah, still very much kind of getting used to everything. So for example, I think these forest roads are basically anyone is allowed to camp on them. So you see, I think, as I'm driving, quite a few kind of camper vans and caravans and stuff, where people have kind of pulled off to do that. There has been quite a lot of people I've sort of passed on the road recreating, a lot of ATVs, dirt bikes, people like me just sort of driving around, having a good time. Definitely, I don't know, I think some people are sort of flying around quite fast. I'm definitely keeping it slow, especially on some of these sharper turns when you kind of can't see what's coming. You can see we've already dropped about 400 or 500 feet there. Definitely going to have my ears popping soon, I think. Yeah, so I think people who kind of do it properly would probably tell me that this isn't really off-roading, but definitely for me, kind of getting used to it, I'm having a good time. Just trying not to completely destroy my car. It's quite hard to see the potholes with these kind of shadows from the trees. I drove up here through Spanish Fork, which I do kind of wish I had been recording at that point, because it's very cool around there, kind of coming up through the mountains. You've got big wind farms, and yeah, that would have been a nice bit to capture. So I think I'm definitely going to have to come back and kind of do some more recording around here, especially if I can get the gimbal fixed so I can sort of do some VR of the drive. I think I did see another couple of spots that would perhaps be alright for stopping and doing a VR record as well. I think for today I might leave it with that one that I've just done, but you'll see when we come back down here that there's a few other like burnt out forests, I think, and meadows, little stream areas. So yeah, I think there's some cool other places to come back to. Trying to check I'm not holding up a load of traffic, but yeah, I don't think I've had anyone behind me the whole trip. It's mainly been that I've come across a few kind of oncoming bits of traffic. But yeah, driving out to the lava tubes last week, I think, was what kind of fired me up for this kind of driving. Because yeah, definitely as a kind of British person here, then I think that was exactly what I was looking for last week. It was a lot of kind of dirt roads, actually mostly flat. It was only really a tiny bit like this that I did right in the end, and then I sort of did 3 minutes of it and turned around. But yeah, I guess that was sort of the American driving experience I was looking for. You know, especially Utah style, kind of driving out on a dirt road, kicking up a big old dust cloud, exploring some crazy geological feature. So the lava tubes is basically a lot of volcanic rock, and it's all kind of forced its way through the ground, so there's these big sort of cracks, and you can see down into tunnels that were basically formed by lava from a volcano. I don't think Utah has any remaining volcanoes. I might need to look that up. I know Washington, when I was there, that was something that was very surreal to me coming from Britain, was that there was about 5 different apocalyptic events that could happen at any point. Volcano was one of them, tidal waves, earthquakes I think as well. Don't think there was hurricane possibilities, but there may have been. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, I don't think Utah has any kind of current volcanoes, so I think those lava tubes must be from a long time ago, but I don't know, I could be completely wrong. I need to ask my brother-in-law about that one, I think. So yeah, we should be about to get some really cool views. Come down about 700 feet now already. Yeah, and it was my sister's father-in-law who kind of put me onto this place. He's got a big Dodge Ram pickup truck, and he likes doing kind of the Willys Jeep. I forget what it's called, but basically where you drive a car and you're sort of mantling rocks and stuff. But he basically said this one wasn't that and should be doable with my car. After I'd kind of mentioned the off-roading I did a couple of weeks ago, or again, not off-roading probably, but sort of very late. corners just because you don't know. There's definitely a lot of people out today. That's a good example. What a perfect time to see that truck though, right next to a huge pull-in. I have been waving at people when I've been stopping and pulling in. On the way up, no one sort of waved back, so I didn't know if that was a cultural thing, perhaps. Although it was kind of dirt bikes and things as well, so I guess you definitely don't want to take your hands off the handlebars. But here we go. I'm hoping you have a bit of a view of this. So all of these trees are kind of stripped to their branches and bark in quite a lot of places, so I think that must be from a forest fire. There is some kind of burned trees there to the right. But I don't know, you do also get kind of storms, a lot of, I think this whole area, even a couple of weeks ago, there was still kind of snowdrifts and stuff, so it's probably only just sort of coming back to life a little bit. This is very cool. So last autumn I did do a drive on, so here there was two called the Alpine Loop and Nebo Loop. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And so that's a huge kind of attraction here, because in the autumn you've just got the incredible kind of autumn leaves for the whole drive. That is a paved road, but it does get a little bit hairy. Kind of, I think it's all two ways, kind of two-lane road, but definitely some points where you need to sort of slow down and let people pass each other, especially people taking their kind of massive trucks and things on those. Ooh, I wish I had to go a little bit slower into that, just because of the massive remains in the road. Focus. So yeah, so that was really cool driving, and I guess kind of similar views to this, but just like say on a paved road. And I think I did put the Nebo Loop video up recently, and you can see just the crazy kind of autumn leaves and stuff there, which was just so cool. So I guess, you know, none of that today. But still very cool kind of views in both directions, coming up and down. I need to yawn to pop my ears, I think. There you go, dirt bike. Good place for them to pass, I think. I think that must be the dirt bike equivalent, because both sets of dirt bikes I've passed, the guy's given me the kind of peace sign. So I guess that must be. Yeah, I don't know how anyone else does it. I think for me, I kind of prefer to stop at that point, as much as they would be able to get by at the same time. I think I'd rather just stop, and then everyone, you know, those guys are able to kind of do what they want to do to get past, rather than, you know, I'm still kind of trying to barge my way through or anything. Especially for the dirt bikes. I think maybe not so much for cars, but definitely for a dirt bike, I think. Just kind of give them as much possibility to kind of get past me safely as possible. So yeah, here you go. I hope you can sort of see this as well. I wonder if I'll be able to kind of turn maybe a little bit So obviously quite a sort of steep drop off the side there, and all these kind of stripped trees, which I think, to me, I don't know, it's interesting. I wonder what things maybe American people don't think are that impressive, but to my eyes look really cool. Like even around where I live, there's a lot of kind of industrial and railways and that kind of thing, and quite old-fashioned looking, and I want to do a driving video around there, because to me, again, it's so, like, you know, your sort of stereotypical Americana, I guess. But yeah, I don't know, to people here, maybe that's just how everything looks. I don't know. Again, 7,700 feet if you can't see it, so I think it was about 9,300 at the top. Try and get an angle on this again, just so you can see. So this would be another very cool spot to film, I think. The main problem I found when looking for spots on the way up is that everything that looked quite cool, there's not been all that many pull-in areas. So often I sort of saw a bit like that, but then there wasn't anywhere to stop for ages. I guess if I'd given myself a bit more time, yeah, so I think if I'd have given myself a bit more time, and perhaps as I kind of ramp up my adventurousness, then I guess you sort of park up there and hike back down a bit. But definitely kind of lugging the huge tripod and everything does make that a little bit more difficult. But I am wondering if the gimbal... Yeah, so basically I'm thinking of trying some sort of VR walking videos, and basically just to see if the gimbal kind of makes that reasonable. I think just recording that by hand, I think that would be quite unpleasant to watch, but I'm hoping with the gimbal kind of smoothing it out, that might be watchable, or at least, you know, I can put it up, and if it doesn't work for you, then you know that's not a good video, but for some people maybe it would. So yeah, I don't know, that's something I want to try at least. Like I say, I'm kind of not convinced that is going to be an enjoyable watch, but I want to give it a go. And then at the very least, I think having the gimbal means that it's kind of smaller, I can have it in my rucksack, and wow, that view. And at the very least, actually, it should make, if I want to sort of stop at the end and try and take a basically still bit of video, I think hopefully it should kind of smooth it out enough that that would be reasonable, even if it didn't kind of make walking there reasonable. So yeah, I don't know, that might kind of open up some more possibilities for some bits where I've previously just taken photos, but actually maybe now I can sort of try some video. So yeah, I'm quite excited to properly kind of get that charged up, read through the manual, figure out how it works, and to sort of give that a go, see what it might open up for me. moorhen, but I don't know if that is a very specifically British word. I think that was definitely a case of trying to thread the needle there. The sort of place for your tyres was essentially right next to the hedge there. Definitely saw a lot more kind of ATVs and things near the bottom, which I guess makes sense. So yeah, as we get further down, might be more likely to see some people blasting around. Excellent. Quite glad I didn't go through the car wash before this video, because again, the back of my rear windshield is absolute dust city. Either lava tubes was a couple hours for me, this was about an hour, but I guess it's good knowing people who like getting out there and adventuring, because this is sort of exactly what I've wanted to find for a while, a road where I can kind of get up into the mountains. There's a lot of them that aren't open in winter, or that aren't kind of roads for driving up, I guess. So this was a very cool one. I guess one thing that's been quite nice about a lot of the sort of national and state parks here is, let's just take it slow, is that a lot of the time you are just sort of driving to a spot and you can kind of see everything from there. I guess that's sort of a terrible thing to say in terms of fitness, but I guess it makes it very accessible, and especially for things like the VR filming, lugging all of the kit around. It's like I didn't have to kind of go hiking to get to a spot to film. It was just right there, and then obviously the trails and things are here as well, so you can still find a lot more kind of off-road adventures, but there's definitely things that are very accessible. Oh, my ears are going again. See these campgrounds starting to be a bit more full as well, so definitely a lot of people kind of around here. The guy seems to have like a multi-horse trailer. I guess maybe you could come out here and ride all multiple horses around. Although I think it did mention being an open range, which I'm guessing that doesn't mean it's open for you to just bring your cows to roam around, but more that there are cows that are roaming around and not sort of fences and gates and stuff. I did sadly see quite a few deer on the side of the road on the way up, so that's definitely another thing you've got to be keeping your eyes open for. Haven't seen any wildlife today. We get, because we're sort of at the foot of one of the mountains, so we get a lot of deer actually literally in our garden. Like I came home from Walmart and was just about to open my door and I realised there was like 5 deer just stood right next to me, and I'm in the basement, and especially when the mountains were kind of snowed in, I guess that sort of drove the deer down. And many times I'd be sort of going out of my bedroom and there's just like 5 or 6 deer just sort of chilling out right outside my window, which is very cool. National Forest. Because also I think this bit at the bottom did say about no right to roam, so I guess sort of the park getting in here is private property, but as I say, I think I have been told that. I guess don't take it as advice, but basically forestry areas, you can just sort of camp there as long as you're not kind of disturbing anything. Which I do think is really cool. I don't know, it's one thing that I find odd about Britain, especially around the time of the pandemic, was there a lot of stories about basically people not wanting anyone to turn up at our sort of outdoor areas, and things like how disgusting it was. There were sort of bathrooms that had broken down and all of that kind of thing, but it seems a bit nuts to me because obviously a lot of kind of campaigns for healthier living and that kind of thing, and it's like, if that money was put into sort of making the places that we have places that you could go, then I don't know, that would seem like a better use of that money than trying to make a campaign to kind of tell everyone to get outside. Because things like the bathrooms, I mean, obviously if you're outside all day you're going to need a restroom, so you know, why not provide that and staff it and man it, and then, you know, at least everyone who wants to has a place that they're sort of getting out. And yeah, also I guess that's me sort of complaining just briefly, but what I was going to say is that that's one thing I really love about here, is that often there is that, so you get to the national park and there's restrooms, and they might not be you know, they're sort of fairly bare bones, but they're there and they're stocked, and you know, there's a lot of places to park. And then these camp places, I haven't particularly seen any here, but not that far away, are just sort of free. What is the best way to do this bit? Like that. Excellent. But yeah, there are free, completely free camp spots with a fire pit and a bathroom, all over the place, and that's just so cool to have those kind of areas that you can use and not even have to pay for, and you're sort of, you know, I don't know, you're in nature to some extent. I do have friends here to whom that what isn't enough of a sort of outdoorsy experience, but I think at least for me, kind of still being fairly new to it all, I don't know, I just think that's really cool to have all of those facilities, and I do really like the idea of, I think it's called dispersed camping. One of my colleagues in Washington was talking about it, which kind of basically I think just means you sleep in the back of your car, and again, as long as you kind of take everything in and out, you know, you're not kind of leaving anything behind. don't know, I need to look into it more, because definitely if there are places like this and you can sort of just put matches in the back of your car and just kind of turn up, then I think that would be a very cool experience. Okay, here we go. So I think we are getting down near the bottom now. That sign wasn't that far into the journey, so I think I've sort of definitely done. You can see the road down there winding. It's very cool. But yeah, so I think I'm kind of coming towards the end of it now. Parts of the road where there's quite a steep drop off on one side, so again, not something that I've hugely driven around this kind of area before. Also, as soon as I said that, we've come down and the floor's just there, so I guess it wasn't quite as steep as I thought. Yeah, not seeing much wildlife today. I'm guessing there are sort of deer around, probably scared off by all the people razzing around. Yeah, I guess I don't know that I've hugely seen loads of stuff out and about here anyway. There are sort of bison on the Antelope Island, which is kind of overlooking the Great Salt Lake, where I did a snow walk video. So there's bison there. I think we did see sort of bears and things like that in, or maybe it was more mooses in Yellowstone. So they are out here. Yeah, so this is the part that says private property, and there looks to be a really nice kind of wooden cabin thing there with streams, garages and things being built. So that, whoever's living there is having a good time. feet. So I forget what the last one I called out was. I think it was maybe 7,700. So that's another 1,200 feet that we've come down from a total of about 9,300. So actually I'm about 3,000 foot lower than I was when I started this recording. This part anyway. What's nice is that the rest area was pretty much, it was about a minute away from the start of this road, so yeah, when you get down it's a nice immediate spot to be able to take a bit of a break. I'd say it does kind of keep you on your toes a bit, this kind of driving. So yeah, probably time to take a stop, especially as I ran out of coffee. Don't think they sold coffee there, unfortunately for me, but yeah, so my sister's father-in-law, who had told me about it, he did say when he came up there were snow drifts and parts that were washed away. I think he showed me a photo of a part of it that had a kind of actively running stream. I've not seen that this time, but you can see, especially getting down here, massive deep tyre tracks, which I think, you know, it's obviously dry at the moment, but that's from the last couple of weeks where maybe this was all kind of mud and people driving through it who are a bit more adventurous than me, and but now just leaving these massive grooves in the road. sort of not fully wanting to drive in the grooves because that puts me very much on the wrong side of the road. Oh, there was a sign on the way up that I would have called out, except I was not talking on that bit. Basically where those forest road signs were that said 150, and then there was another sign that said on road. So the 150 is that this is Forest Road 150. I don't really know what the on road sign means. I know there's a lot of the kind of poles here that are for when it's snowing, so you can kind of see where the edge of the road is. So I don't know if it was just to kind of tell you like you are on the track. It did mention, I wondered also because it was near the forest sign, if it was saying like the road is the forest, the national forest bit or something. I don't know, that seems a bit crazy. Because like I say, my assumption is that the private bit is at the bottom here and then the top is the national forest. It's very cool. Where I live, there's a few, I mean there's a national forest sign like 2 minutes from our house, which was I think one of the Alpine Loop maybe, or you know, kind of part of it, the winter forest I think that was. So yeah, there's a lot of this kind of thing. The drive up to Park City, kind of along Provo Canyon, is very cool. Oh man, that wasn't particularly pleasant for anyone involved. I thought I'd mainly managed to get away with not bringing 1,000 mosquitoes into the car with me, but yeah, a lot of dry sort of riverbeds, I'm assuming, to the left and right here. Dry kind of creeks. This is the end of June 2024, if you're kind of watching it in the future, and definitely everything is saying that kind of the reservoirs and the snowpack and everything was specifically high this year, so it's kind of, we've sort of immediately gone into heat. My brother-in-law is saying it's kind of hot. You know, the heat we had last week was sort of as hot as it gets here, and it was maybe a couple of months earlier than normal, but it was also kind of still snowing. I forget when that last snow was, but it kind of surprised me how late it was still snowing, maybe even kind of end of May. And then it's definitely got very hot now, but yeah, apparently, you know, the water supplies are good, so that's always nice. This sign, similar to the one near the lava tubes, has bullet holes in, which again, to me, is just like something out of a movie. But I guess in some places here, it's also reality. So the lava tubes, especially where you've been on sort of a dirt road for 20 minutes and no one's here. Oh, here we go. I saw a few of these on the way up. I don't know if that's a chipmunk or what it is, but there's a little guy running past there. Let's see how easy this is going to be to get back out. Oh, I should have. Sort of middle bit here that we can pull into. It's hard to tell. Yes, I think there is. I sort of had that in both directions. It's quite hard to get your car to sort of get up to speed when you're also trying to drive up a mountain. I don't think that was too bad. So I did have to, because I've actually been living here for a couple of years, I did have to retake my driver's license. I think you can use it for a few months without doing that, but obviously kind of longer term that isn't possible. So I had to retake my driving test here, and did that in a blizzard a couple of years ago. So again, quite different to driving around the UK, but I don't know, I've been driving quite a bit here now and around literally downtown Seattle. So that was actually not so bad when I first started, because I think they still hadn't made everyone go back into work. So I think that sort of lulled me into a false sense of security that I thought I was okay kind of driving around. Because yeah, that was right downtown, but then this is the rest area I want to pull into. But then while I was living there, they did kind of Amazon and Microsoft and all the big companies did kind of make everyone return to work, and so the traffic just became horrendous. It's probably part of the reason why I kind of chose to move back here, because that just sort of became unpleasant to whenever you wanted to kind of go out on an adventure. Whereas Utah, I don't know, I really like driving here. It's sort of quite different in that, yeah, it's quite different in that it is big and the cities are big, but I've never really got caught in traffic. It does happen on the big interstate around Salt Lake City, but yeah, you sort of don't ever really get stuck in sort of stop-start traffic, or at least I don't. I don't have to kind of drive for work, at least. But yeah, and it's very kind of spread out. There's not really a sort of centre, or at least other than Salt Lake City probably. So a lot of the time you're sort of driving to different locations, but it's not like everyone's there. Whereas Seattle, I mean, I did live downtown, so I suppose maybe I should have expected it more. But yeah, Seattle was a lot kind of crazier.